Thanks for tuning in to the Old Dirty Basement. Today's episode is part 2 of 2 on Richard Ramirez, the Night Stalker. So we hope you joined us last week for part 1. We had our buddy Ali Ron in. He helped us with the story, getting to know the locations out there and kind of get an idea of what was going on at the time. Part 2 will deal with everything leading up to and including his capture, imprisonment, and eventual death in prison and everything that happened in between. So yeah, we hope you guys enjoy it. Speaking of which, if you're enjoying the show, please leave us that 5-star rating in the app you're in, Spotify, Apple, Google, whatever it may be. On Apple, you can leave us a written review, and we'd really appreciate it. If you look in the show description, we have a merch store, and it's up and running. So head over to the merch store, get yourself some Old Dirty Basement swag, wear it out, help support the show. So anyway, sit back, relax, and enjoy The Night Stalker, Part 2.
This is the Old Dirty Basement, home to debauchery, madness, murder, and mayhem. A terror-filled train ride deep into the depths of the devil's den.
With a little bit of humor,
history, and copious consciousness.
I'm your announcer, Shallow Throat. Your hosts are Dave, Matt, and Zap. I love you, Matthew McConaughey. All right, all right, all right.
hey, this is Dave,
Matt, and Zap. And welcome to the Old Dirty Basement.
where every week we cover a true crime.
Murder or compelling story.
So sit back.
Relax and comprehend. Hello, 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 you cellar dwellers, and welcome back to the basement. We got another part for you guys today, huh? We're going into part 2 of
The Night Stalker.
There we go. Yeah. Who do we got in the house tonight? Everybody's quiet.
I know, right? Everybody's being a little shy.
Everybody's trying to figure out where you're coming from right now. So
this is just hello, man.
This was an action-packed intro.
Very much.
I didn't even know how to follow that, but no.
Yeah,
he was gripping that microphone so hard he couldn't let it go.
It's
It looked so natural in his hand.
He's excited.
I am. Guys, leave me alone.
He's excited now.
Well,
just partying.
We got LA Ron back
Yes.
for part 2,
Yes,
our
yes.
LA expert. So hope to finish this one up tonight and take it all the way to the end. So
What?
I guess it didn't sound too good.
No, he's tired.
We really need to finish it tonight.
Right.
You got to get a 100% effort.
What kind of show is this? You know?
Yeah, wow.
Yep.
No, but the first part went a little longer than what we thought, so we had to break this in 2.
And this guy is worth 2 episodes, for sure.
Yes, Night Stalker Part 2.
He had a star-studded career in murders and attempted murders.
Yes, very much.
Yeah.
And mayhem.
A short period of time, too.
Yeah, I mean, much like the Dahmer, there was so much murder and mayhem in this one. I mean, you can't do it in one unless you do like a 3-hour episode. So, like I said, a lot to cover. But before we get into it, guys, a little segment we're going to start doing on here, we're going to call it the Old Dirty Mailbag. So, we get people reach out to us and give us feedback. I have people in person or, they'll email me, or I know Zap gets texts and Matt as well, or people calling. So we'd like to shout those people out and give them a little credit, give them a little love for showing us love. So I'd like to recognize Kelly B and Hawk and Gen C. They all been reaching out on Facebook with nice comments about the show. If you haven't been following the show, we're on Facebook at Old Dirty Basement. You can find us there, and we appreciate all the feedback, and you guys give us comments and love, and we appreciate that. Also, I'd like to shout out my sister-in-law, Tina. She had a real nice write-up for me on Facebook and let us know she really enjoyed the Dahmer. Thought we did a good job at that and really enjoyed all 3 episodes, and the same thing with Jen. I think they made a comment, one of them made a comment about how much they felt a little uncomfortable laughing at parts through the Dahmer because we made it like,
We made it fun.
Right.
Yeah.
Very humorous.
We definitely appreciate that feedback. It makes us want to do this more, and we really appreciate it.
Absolutely. And wait a second, that mailbag isn't empty yet.
Right. So, Zap, you had a couple, you said.
Absolutely. Right? So certainly there might have been some overlap there in some of the ones you'd mentioned. In addition to those, I'd like to give a shout out to Autumn, who was actually the inspiration for one of our forthcoming true crimes.
Ooh.
Stay tuned for that one. Also want to give a huge shout out to Katie. It's almost daily that I hear from Katie how much she enjoys this show.
Thank you, Katie.
Yeah.
The movies, the true crime, all of it. In fact, having never seen Real Genius before, it was actually thanks to our podcast that she watched Real Genius for the first time ever, decades after it had come out.
And Zap mentioned the overlap. That's right. Kelly B, you said she texted you as well and gives you
Absolutely.
feedback all the time.
Absolutely.
And we love that.
Right.
That's cool to hear.
Didn't you pick the Real Genius out?
100%. That was back in the dusty vault of the old dirty basement. That was my first podcast I'd ever recorded with these guys.
I could see
was a
you
great
liking
job,
that
Zap.
show. It kind of reminds me of you.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
And
Genius at heart.
he is, man.
Wanna be.
Yeah.
And finally, one big shout out to my friend Joe, also known as Quarters. He has, on his own volition, due to his the amount of driving he has to do, he has listened to since every episode of this podcast.
Awesome.
Thank you,
a good-
Quarters.
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
a real
yeah.
good
Quarters, man. We like that. Thank you, man. Appreciate that.
He can call me dollars.
Yeah, well, he started out as quarters. Now he's counting dollars.
Now he's
That's
counting
what we
dollars.
like.
Yeah. I think I know the relation there. So, yeah, that's pretty cool.
Okay.
One other last one now. I talked about this guy's been on the show, and he actually, I mean, he's always listening and telling me stuff. He was on here. We did the Zodiac. We had a comment in there about the Paradise. Pairdice, right?
Correct.
We were trying to-
Some are curious as to whether that was intentional or just happenstance misspelling.
Right. Well, he brought up a good point. He said, well, what do you call a paradise?
A paradise.
Well, what's the term for more than one
Die.
die?
Oh,
Yeah.
multiple.
Yeah. So,
wow.
Which is
How
where he
about
said
that?
he was going with his
Yeah,
slaves.
how
Yeah.
about- that's exactly right. That's right.
yeah. So Juice Man, shout out to Juice Man.
Thanks,
He was-
Juice.
he-
That's wow. That's a really
Deep.
yeah, man.
so
Trying to wrap my head around that.
And I'd like to
okay.
thank my mom. Thank you for listening, Mom.
yeah.
All right.
We love those mom downloads.
Yeah.
That really helps boost our
Thanks,
numbers
moms.
and all that.
We thank your mom for having you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yep.
It was a choice.
Keep listening, Mom.
Yeah, but anyways, maybe Juice is going to crack that code, man. We'll make national news because of the podcast. You never know. He's working on
Right.
it, I think. Yeah. So we're back to the Night Stalker. And Zap, where do we leave off?
Yeah, well, when last we left our fearless friend, the Night Stalker, this was on May 29th, 1985. He had done all sorts of terribleness to Mabel, a.k.a. Ma Bell, and her sister Florence, Nettie Lang. After that, despite Bell dying and Lang surviving, the Night Stalker moved on.
Just one night later, right?
Yes.
One night later,
One whole night.
on the night of May 30th, 1985, the Night Stalker encounters Carol Kyle and her son,
Her 11-year-old son.
11-year-old
Yes.
son.
Young kid.
So not but a day later, where was this located?
Burbank.
Burbank. And
Beautiful downtown Burbank.
it's been so long since part one. How far would Burbank be from the site of Ma Bell, not just but a day earlier?
15, 20 miles max.
Okay.
So not that far.
Nope.
Well, not that far, especially when you're stealing cars every time.
Yeah, true.
Yep.
Now again, this guy's watching these people, so like it being that close, I think he had this person already lined up.
He was casing the Johns.
But don't forget, Burbank is the home to all the studios,
That's what I was
NBC,
gonna say, yeah.
CBS, and all that. So we're talking money here and lots of security. Lots meaning movie lots and lots of security around them to protect them. So he's really getting a little risky here.
I like a lot what you did there.
Anytime, buddy. Anytime.
All right.
So amazingly enough, both of these victims were each bound with handcuffs. The mother, Carol, was raped repeatedly. I mean, repeatedly. He, of course, then stole what he could, took whatever he could from the house, and jetted. Happily, both survived.
Yeah, that's pretty sick. Now, the 11-year-old, was that one where he was tied up in another room? I know there was maybe it's one coming up where he actually had the kid in the room.
That's happened a couple of times.
Yeah. So that's already has happened.
Oh, yeah.
Because this guy's just like so sick. you
To
know?
be clear, over the course of his short-lived spree, but again, the numbers in this are just insane. There was more than one occasion where, the offspring is there, the spawn is there watching their mother getting raped by this guy.
And violated. Like,
Yeah.
that's
And
horrible.
that's something that he probably enjoyed because he did rape and maybe murder a young girl before, correct?
Yeah.
So this is something that I think when he gets the children, like it's something that turns him on even more.
More involved. Like when
Yeah.
they're involved, he's so sadistic.
Sadistic, that's a good word.
But also, the parent might be more compliant because their child's there trying to get it over with.
Great
and not
point.
be as
Right,
crazy.
yeah.
But another thing about these dates, I'll let you know, it's getting ready to go to summertime. This is when the LAPD are really broadcasting that this guy's out there because they didn't know like what his extent was or who all he would target. Because we drop out, we go to school out of school like mid-June. So I remember this right about now, it's summertime, and right before summer is when they're like, because kids are going to be out playing and, staying out late because it's summertime. They had a big push in the newspapers about this guy's out and stalking people.
So it was on the news even more than before, and local news, newspapers.
Newspapers,
right.
Newspapers were the thing back
Was
then.
the panic kicked in yet? Where I heard like where people were buying attack dogs and weapons.
Yeah,
and
women
all
were
that?
buying guns.
Probably, but not like everybody knew about it. Like we just kind of knew, be careful, lock your windows at night, keep an eye on strange men, peeping in windows and stuff like that.
Gotcha.
That's wild.
Mm-hmm.
That's absolutely wild. I'm curious. So I don't remember this. So in 85, let's say on May 30th, 1985, at this point, I was 9 years old.
Yeah, we weren't
I
watching
was
news. Yeah.
8 going on 9.
Right.
So of course we didn't hear about this.
No.
I didn't know anything about this. Not for nothing. I didn't know anything about the Night Stalker until maybe a month ago. When this guy's name came up. Like, I haven't seen a movie. I haven't seen anything, heard anything, didn't know anything. And again, back in the 80s, this is obviously long before the 24-hour news cycle, before everything is, connected with the inner tubes, all of that stuff. I had no idea this guy. Nobody ever heard of this. So, I mean, when with this in the paper, there's got to be, certainly there's more than one newspaper in the LA area. I get that. But man, this has got to be just crazy.
My first recollection of the Night Stalker and this whole story, I was pretty young because I remember at the time they were linking him to AC/DC because there was a hat, and maybe we'll get into that later. And I remember the satanic part of it and them linking that to AC/DC. And back when we were kids, I remember people said AC/DC stood for After Christ Devil Comes, and there was all kinds of like people that would say, this is back in the 80s before the internet. You couldn't really search. And
the internet was there, but it wasn't the same as what we see today.
That's
Right.
fair. That's very fair.
We had the chat rooms and things like that where you had to dial up modems, and it was like, you went in the chat room and talked back and forth. But also, the TVs weren't as big. In 85, not everybody had a TV. It's not like today where you had cable and all that other stuff as well.
Right. Good point.
There's 5 channels. Maybe.
So your most of your information was coming from the newspapers, and that's because most of us had paper routes and things like that, and the rumor spread, and it went from an inch to a mile.
I delivered papers. My first job ever was delivering newspapers.
Oh, wow.
That was awesome. I got that at like 12 years old, 13 years old.
Most paper guys are kind of fit. I don't.
Hey, man, you're talking like 30 years ago.
Okay, might have been a little better.
All right. Things were better back then.
Yep.
I'm
So
sure.
much better. Except for all these murderers.
Well, that and metabolism, you name it, who knows?
But no, that was a big thing. I remember in the 80s, they would say that music was the one that was causing these kids to act the way that they did.
So, yeah,
and
I
to
remember that,
kill,
too.
and Satan and Ozzy Osbourne's going to lead you to death. And
Because that was influencing the youth.
So,
okay.
yeah, and it wasn't just that. It was Dungeons and Dragons, and it was
Yes,
music, and it was all
music.
sorts of stuff.
But
anything.
music was what spread the fastest. You know what I mean? People got really involved. They wore the T-shirts. They did all the clicks. Everything was kind of like where I come from. You kind of grouped by what music you listened to. So your ethnicity didn't really matter. It was your type of music and what you did, how you hung out.
But that was, I just remember seeing footage from back in the 80s where like they would show, newscaster would say, Metallica is leading to deaths of children from this song, and they would play it. But yeah, it was a strange time.
A lot of denim
Yes.
back in the 80s.
Denim.
Yep.
I'm so glad that high-waisted jeans came back, by the way. God damn.
Wait, to what?
For chicks
High-waisted
wearing
jeans.
high-waisted
high-waisted.
jeans.
I
Mom
thought you said
jeans.
high-weighted
Mom
jeans. I
jeans.
thought that was an AC/DC
Oh,
song.
high-waisted jeans. God damn.
High-waisted. I do know what you're talking
I
about.
love
now.
that it came back. I hated that low-rise shit that came
waited.
back a few years ago that was like mirroring the 60s or the 70s, the bell-bottom type
Right.
shit. Man, I welcome back the high-waisted jeans.
You like that?
Yeah.
It's a good style.
It
Takes you
accentuates, in my opinion, I think it accentuates a woman's curves just the right way.
I agree.
Okay.
I agree.
Very good. Very good.
I'll take a pair of yoga pants. I'm sorry.
Oh, hey, they come low and high waisted, so you can pick your poison on that one. Man.
We have an old dirty basement where we're selling the men's yoga pants.
Yeah.
With our symbol on the butt.
Check out our store.
Yes, check out our store. Thank you.
Coming soon to you.
There we go.
So, as Ron had alluded, summertime's coming. We had a short break.
Summertime sadness.
We had a little over a month break in the Night Stalker's tales, in the Night Stalker's everything he was digging to do.
He really doesn't waste much time.
Well,
the guy's just
he's
anxious,
on the move.
man.
He's on the move, and so much of what we've talked about relative to this guy, has to do with him robbing, like him taking money. He murders, but he steals.
I wonder if maybe he had a good score in Burbank. It's another thing that I'm wondering. Remember I said that's a very rich area, so maybe
Absolutely.
he got a lot of money.
Maybe
Took
set-
some
set
time
for
off.
a little bit. Yes. Because he's down for like over a month.
Over a month, and that's right, exactly. Not but 30-some days later, on July 2nd, he enters the home of Mary Louise Cannon. Now, this poor woman, where did she live?
Arcadia.
Arcadia.
Small blue collar area. Very small.
So is this guy making the rounds? Like, I would love for some way, shape, or form that we could picture in our minds. Let's say if he was just in Burbank,
Well,
30-some days later, where did he go?
Yes, I think he stayed like downtown LA, and it seems like most of his victims were on the outskirts of LA County. It seems like he was just dotting the outer lying parts of it.
Suburbia.
More rural. Yeah.
Rural, very rural, kind of. It's more desert-like than suburbs. It's more desert-like.
Okay.
I think that's something that you could put on the internet there, Dave, is like show a picture of California in some of these areas.
Draw a map.
Connect the dots.
Yeah, connect the dots type area that he made. Because I'm curious to see how exactly, like how close, how far, they're
The man
to each
liked
other.
L.A., and don't forget,
Oh, he loved L.A.
now while L.A. it's certainly a big area, it's truly big because there are so many people condensed and compressed into one area.
Yes and no, because there's a central part of downtown LA where it's the metropolis, and then there's outlying smaller little cities or suburbs, you'd call them. And that's those are like 50 to 100,000 in population.
So like Harrisburg City would be like the size of like one of the suburbs.
Harrisburg and the West Shore.
I gotcha.
Both. It would be
Okay.
both. It'd be like almost, you got to remember that we're talking like millions of people in this condensed, 40 or 50 mile place.
I gotcha.
So it's like really, and they're packed tight in just certain areas.
So this is beyond the concept of boroughs, right? So from
Beyond
the concept of boroughs, let's say you have New York City, right? But that's X number of boroughs. In
5.
the city of Harrisburg, you have, thank you, Matt.
You're welcome. 5 boroughs.
In Harrisburg, you have city proper, but you also have a number of boroughs surrounding that still have Harrisburg mailing addresses.
Correct.
Right.
So is it more like that?
Sort of, because really Los Angeles County is what they go by, and everybody just calls it LA the city. But each individual city will have their own little sub-departments or whatever you want to call it.
Nice.
Right. So this guy's dotting the outside of that.
Yep, he's on
Basically staying
everything's like way on the outside. And another thing too is like back in these days, it would be covered by the sheriff's department as opposed to LAPD because they mainly did like the inner cities or the larger metropolises.
But as L.A. Ron was saying, he made a big score in Burbank. From what we're coming up with, and then moved to the lower levels in Arcadia, correct?
Yep. He went back down.
And that's
again.
why it took him a little time because he had some money, bought some drugs, having a good time, got some hookers.
Whatever he did his
Dude's living
thing.
large, and then it's time to make another hit.
Well, once it came time for his hit, he met up with Mary Louise Cannon in Arcadia. This poor woman, he bludgeoned her into unconsciousness with a lamp. A lamp. While she's unconscious, he ended up stabbing her to death with a knife he picked up in her kitchen on his way up to her.
I wonder if that's because he didn't get any money. Because they said he got really enraged when he didn't score well or get a lot of money from his victims.
Absolutely, he did.
So maybe when he hit these people or attacked them or was trying to rob them and they didn't have a lot of valuables or whatever he could find and he just knew they had more and they didn't have it, then he went on his rage or rampage.
Well, now think about what we were just talking about, right? So this is 30-some, low 30s, after he had robbed Carol Kyle and her son up in Burbank. Now, both of them survived.
He wasn't as mad.
Poor Ms. Cannon did not make it. And she didn't make it. And it was only 3 days later that he was on to his next murder.
Looking for more money.
Yep.
Or items.
And in 3 days later, when he's on to this next murder, sounds like it's a good time for us to take a break. Welcome back, everybody. When last we left, our fearless killer had just killed Mary Louise Cannon. Apparently didn't get away with a very good score. And 3 days later, was off to find Whitney Bennett.
Sierra Madre still on the score. I wonder if he had a good 4th of July before he went on his rampage. Maybe he finished off his goods and it was time for some more money or restacking.
I hope he got something.
Yeah, he partied, it seemed, because July 4th, nothing. Good party time, probably did what he had to do, and then back at it July 5th. Whitney Bennett, go ahead, Zap.
Oh, yeah, man. So, no, this is actually a flashback, not a foreshadow, but a flashback to our previous podcast where Ron had questioned with regard to a particular strangulation. Was this the one that sparks were occurring? Something was happening, and what he was referencing was a particular murder that had occurred with
The lamp?
an electrical cord that had remained plugged into the wall that at one point had been connected to an alarm clock. So he yanked out the alarm clock and just, tortured this woman with this electrical cord. This, however, was a forthcoming miracle. I mean, miracle, for lack of a better word. So July 5th, 1985, Whitney Bennett rolls into her house, of course, looking to score, bludgeoned this woman with a tire iron while she slept. Now, he attempted to strangle this woman with a telephone cord. So this is, hey, phones are everywhere. You've seen it in the movies, heat of the moment.
It happens.
Grabs a telephone, grabs the cord, starts to strangle this woman. He all of a sudden stops short when he sees sparks coming out of the wall where this cord had been connected.
Everybody loves sparks, man.
Well, everybody loves sparks, but this really threw him for a loop. This guy's in the midst of murdering this woman, fully intent on killing this woman, but he sees sparks coming out of the wall, and for some reason, he thinks it's God.
Yeah, I did read that. He thought Jesus was intervening, and he was out of there.
So these murders, do you think he gets hopped up on goofballs before he goes into these? Like, is he high?
Yeah, he's probably on a speedball.
Speedballs,
like that. Yeah, speedballs.
Coke, crack, whatever he's on.
I would think
Speedballs
so.
Yeah, I think this is one of the ones he gets hype in the car, takes a couple of hits, and
I'm curious.
Then it's time to rock.
What is a speedball?
I think it's heroin and cocaine mixed.
Heroin and cocaine mix.
Yep.
Okay.
River Phoenix died from one of those, I believe, right?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so he's
Speedball.
probably doing that to get up the. I mean, obviously the guy's been doing.
Or maybe
it for a
not. Maybe
while.
that was his drug. Maybe he went in there sober and just did what he had to do and then partied afterwards. I don't know.
I don't know.
Man, when you need money and you're already, hopped up on whatever, it's basically like, look, I got a mission tonight. I'm going to take this last hit, and I know I need that next hit, but I don't have that next hit, so I got to go someplace to get the money for that next hit.
Or maybe when he comes down, he's into reality and he has a lot of anger and rage that's all bottled up, and he takes it out on his victims.
Who knows?
That's what I'm more of thinking that. Like when I said, is he high when he's doing this, or is this when he's at the bottom?
I think it's when he's at the bottom.
That makes a lot of sense.
I think he's been medicating for so long to try to overcome his epilepsy and stuff like that, that maybe this is when he goes into his shadow world.
And then he needs that escape, and then he needs the money, and then he goes back into his regular lifestyle, I guess.
Well, it's a cycle of an addict, He needs the money to get his fix, to fix him, and then he needs his money to get his fix, to fix him.
Yeah.
Man, you want to work here? Stay off the drugs.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
And this was it was a Friday. I just was curious, days of the week, if he would do weekends or whenever it would be. So
I don't think he recognizes days.
That's what I was wondering. While you guys were talking, I wanted to look it up. So July 2nd, 1985 was a Friday.
Sun goes up and sun goes down
Yeah, it doesn't
every
matter to
day.
him. Yeah.
I think it's
He
more of
doesn't-
his, I think it's more he's high and he's low, and that's all he's worried about.
He doesn't have a 9 to 5er.
Thank you, Matt.
Yeah.
That's exactly where I was going to go over. It's not he's got to
I felt
wake up
that.
on Monday to go to work.
He's not just doing it on the weekends and stuff.
Oh shit!
Nighttime is party time.
Well,
That's
not
when he
even,
goes to
but-
work.
I got to get this murder in because I got to go to work
gotta
tomorrow.
go to
Well, no, my thought was
That's like Dahmer, though.
That guy was a master chocolatier. Don't you dare speak down to that man's work ethic. He
Right.
showed up
That's what
every
I'm saying. The
day.
man showed up for work.
But no, my thought is that could it be if you were going to be breaking into someone's house, wouldn't you do it on, not that I'm thinking of doing this, but wouldn't you do it on a weeknight? Because like on a Friday, Saturday night, there's more of a chance of somebody being up.
Not when these people are 90.
But he
Like,
doesn't know.
They're
He-
retired. They're
He,
old.
No, he
doesn't
goes for- he
discriminate
goes-
relative to age. This guy just goes.
Yeah, he's randomly.
But I think if you look at his victims, they're like older, Asian,
Yeah, well, we don't-
a single woman.
He
did that
started
couple
out
thing for a
Asian.
little bit.
He started out Asian, but once that need and that itch came in, this guy does not discriminate.
He was non-discriminatory.
I think it's more of what he's going for. Sometimes he's going for money. Sometimes he's going for sex or whatever he does to them, and it bounces back and forth.
He said he don't hate, he accommodate.
Yeah. But that was just my theory on it. I wanted to look, but I guess it didn't matter, to him. And that makes sense. Like you guys said, no job. What's it matter to him? So anyway.
Well, anyway
No
is
job.
right. Anyway is right because Whitney Bennett, again, after the beating with the tire iron, and I mean beating with a tire iron.
Think about waking up getting hit with a tire iron.
Right.
I mean, how do you survive that? It darn near knocks you back out to begin with.
Amazingly enough,
I take it none of you guys have been hit with a tire iron?
not lately, no.
Okay.
And this girl was like 16, right? She was young.
I can't speak to her age.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure this is the one if she was like 16 years old. The one
Dang.
that survived that she had to put like tons of stitches in her head.
Tons of stitches. So bludgeoned with a tire iron while she slept, was strangled with a telephone cord, sparks flying everywhere, act of God, Night Stalker, gets away.
Was the phone on the hook or off?
The receiver?
Yes.
I can't speak to that.
Phone on the hook is 48 volts. Phone off the hook is 9 volts.
I had no idea.
Wow,
Yes.
look at that.
Thank you.
Look what we learned tonight.
Well, you guys grew up without probably landlines.
No, I had landline.
No, we all had
Yeah,
landlines.
yeah, I did.
Okay.
oh,
definitely.
we
But
all
see,
grew up
you
with
guys-
landlines for sure. I still
DSL
maintain a
though.
landline.
DSL version though, right?
No,
Okay.
the old school.
Okay, because they
The old
hopped
school
up
with the ones that you'd have to swish your finger around in a circle.
a
and
rotating,
wait for
a rotating
Yes.
knob. Okay.
There you go.
I
So
got you. Not push button.
so back to what you were saying. On the hook is less voltage.
More.
More voltage.
Yes, it's a complete circuit. But they also raised the voltage for DSL lines to carry internet through it. Your interwebs.
The interwebs.
Yes.
Gotcha.
Yep.
That's-
That's why
that's
your
interesting.
DSL lines always had those little boxes. I don't know if you guys had to do that.
For
When they came
DSL.
in- when they hooked
I
up your
kinda
DSL.
remember. Yeah.
You had a
yes,
separate little
the
box.
Yes.
You
yes,
didn't have
yes.
your straight phone line to it. That was
That's
for
right.
the voltage.
They
I remember
handled it.
DSL was the rage.
Mhm.
That was it. That was around here. That was a Verizon product, I think.
That's all products, everybody. Digital subscriber line.
Okay.
When I grew up, it was a 300 baud modem that you plugged in, and it made this little horde noise.
So I had my first one was a 2400 baud modem.
Okay, that you were upgraded. That was way beyond.
I mean, that was 1994.
I'm
Wow.
83.
Okay.
83
There you
chat
go.
rooms, yes.
Damn.
You were very dark then.
Man, yeah.
They had phones in 83.
Yeah, the dial kind. Push button. Push button.
I guess that's the one where you're not waiting for the picture to come through. The
No,
next
there were
day-
no pictures. There
Right.
were no pictures.
You're waiting the next day hoping that the type comes through.
Nah, it was pretty quick.
Okay.
Chat rooms were pretty quick.
Okay.
It was just fonts and stuff like that going back and forth.
That's awesome. Man, that's awesome. I miss the old days. So, back to Whitney Bennett. This broad survived, but she needed 478 stitches
Yep, that's the one then. Yeah.
as a result of the bludgeoning to her head with a tire iron. I'll repeat that. 478 stitches to her dome, dude, as a result of being beaten with a tire iron. Survived.
She probably didn't even fight, though. I mean, if you're being, wakened by a tire iron crashing you in the skull, there's no reflex. You're probably halfway knocked out to begin with.
Yeah, you figure your head bleeds like that anyway. Once that tire iron hits, your head just splits.
It starts
And
squirting.
yeah. Oh,
And he's just hitting her out of rage.
I couldn't imagine that scene.
Because there's no reason. She's not going to be fighting back.
And the amount of blood because head wounds.
yeah, the head
bleed
wounds
the
are,
most.
yeah.
The head is very vascular. Damn. Well, good for her. She survived.
She survived. She's living today.
He's on a non-couples thing too. I noticed it's all female victims.
Yep.
Right?
Easier, I
This-
think, for
Not
him.
necessarily, but
For him.
One could say coincidental.
coincidental possibly.
One
yes.
could say circumstantial.
Or better stalking. He might be hunting his victims a little bit better because he doesn't want to run the risk of fighting off these people.
Exactly. He don't want the two. He just wants the one, and
Yep.
he knows exactly what he can handle.
Earlier, he was probably a little more brazen and thought he could handle it. Now he's realizing he's not.
He's a smarter, wiser murderer.
Or sicker.
There's that.
Or less drugged out from lack of monies.
Well, speaking of lack of monies, I don't know what he took from Whitney Bennett's place, but 2 days later, on July 7th, 1985, he goes to the home of Joyce Lucille Nelson. This one, no miracle happened there. This poor woman got stomped to death in the face while she slept on her couch.
That's rage.
That's rage. Now, I'm talking to three guys right now sitting right in front of me. I can guarantee you that all of you have fallen asleep on your couch. I make a regular habit of it. I just like the couch.
Yeah, me too.
Can
Or
you
get put out
imagine?
there.
Can you imagine laying on that couch and getting stomped to death in the face?
I couldn't imagine.
Like Ron said, the rage, because in your couch, if you're getting hit or pushed upon, the couch has give to it. So in order to have that kind of power, he must have been in another
On another ring.
type world.
He's juiced up.
Well, so much power though that he left a shoe print on her face.
Yes.
The avias.
Real quick, Ron, I don't know if we got into the location, Monterey Park, on this one.
He's coming in a little bit. He's starting to come in.
Okay.
He's going more towards the center of LA
Gotcha.
or the county.
Well, you can say that. Be like, this happened in Monterey Park. Because we have two back to back.
Yes.
Oh, they're both Monterey Park.
Yes.
Okay, this
But
happened
he's
there.
heated right now. I mean, it'll take a lot of energy to stomp somebody's head in.
Right.
I mean, because you got to keep targeting and balance and hold on and just be
And he's
totally upset.
And like we referenced in the first one, he's not a big guy. I think they said like about 150 pounds maybe at the time.
That might have been
150.
that might have been fighting weight, but
Yeah.
after a couple pipe hits, he might be down a little bit.
That's some crack cocaine
Yeah, I know.
on the foot stomp on
Yeah.
that one.
So it's not like
'Cause
you
they're-
have leverage like that.
That's
weight.
ungodly power. Because like I said, the give that a couch would have just to be able to, I mean, you're talking stomping somebody out on like a street or on like
Like
a
on a-
kitchen
On
floor.
pavement, yes.
Yeah.
Something firm or hard.
On a couch, this guy was insanely high.
Well, so if that wasn't enough, on the same night, same area, Night Stalker makes his way to Sophie Dickman's house.
And that was, you said, the same night, July 7th.
Same night, July 7th.
Wow. After
Still has
stomping,
energy. Yeah, I know.
And Joyce Nelson passed away, correct?
Correct. I'll let you know if they survive.
Oh, okay.
At this point, that's a goddamn miracle with this guy.
Right. Did
well,
you get a-
July 5th, he must have scored something where he had enough to buy a
Couple
bunch of
days,
rock.
hold off a day or
Yeah.
two.
And he just kept going.
Well, he did keep going, and he went his way to Sophie Dickman's house, and at Sophie Dickman's house, he assaulted her, handcuffed her, and attempted to rape her.
See, that doesn't sound like his robbing MO.
It doesn't.
Because his robbing MO, he goes straight for the kill or straight for the beatdown. And then when it's a rage or sexual whatever fantasy, he goes to accost them or hold them down or whatever, and then attacks them and beats the crap out of them.
But I think it was spent from Joyce Nelson because didn't Sophie Dickman survive the attack?
Well, we'll get there, man. You're giving.
I'm jumping ahead.
You're doing too much
Yes,
foreshadowing.
yes.
So
but what I'm saying is like
You're a little premature.
he didn't have enough. He was just, I think he was spent from stomping somebody
From the
out. But
first
go
one.
ahead. I'll retract.
you ready?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. So I don't know if he was spent, but I do know that he needed money to spend.
Mhm.
His focus on this one was robbery. So he robbed the place as much as he could, and again, it's that idea that Ron had alluded that maybe, just maybe, there's different mindsets. At some point, he just wants to kill, and then he'll just go through the place himself. Maybe there's another time where, something smart kicks in. These people are scared. I'll let them lead me to their safes, their jewels, their wallets, stuff they have between their mattresses. This was one of those cases. So he robbed Sophie Dickman and then forced her to swear to Satan that she was telling the truth when she told him that he had taken everything of value. So let me put that in a different perspective, or in just a different phrase. She's telling him, look, man, I don't have anything else. I know you keep asking me, give me more, give me more. I have nothing more to give. You've taken everything I've got. He then makes her swear to Satan that that in fact is true.
So, Ron, what's the Monterey Park area? How is that with the monies? Is that a decent? Is that middle class?
He's all pretty middle class. The Burbank was a higher one. Arcadia's okay, but most of these guys are pretty normal. But you also have to remember there are gems within these communities to where maybe that's what he's targeting. Sees the big house
or
single
stalking,
lady,
Right.
yeah.
Well, I was wondering too about like the real ultra rich areas that he probably didn't hit up because security and stuff like that. You know what I mean? Like, is he hitting these houses that are, probably just on the cusp of being nice enough, maybe? But like, I know they got some ultra wealthy areas in LA, and he's probably avoiding them. You think because of the security and that part of it, or?
I think maybe he's targeting places with low traffic. There's not a lot of people outside, things of that nature.
I got you.
Because, if you go to certain parts, there's, somebody driving down the street 24/7 to where you really can't get away with it if there's a fight or yell or scream or lights flashing or flickering.
Just the area then, I guess.
Or even neighbors. I don't even, the neighbors, if there's a neighbor next door and somebody's screaming and he's beating the crap out of somebody and they're screaming for their life.
Well, this would scream for her life and ended up surviving.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Way to go, Sophie Dickman.
Yes. Yep.
And apparently it was, it was 13 days worth of
Goods.
13 days worth of goods, and swearing to Satan that he had gotten all of it, because days later, on July 20th, 1985, he enters the home of Maxon and Leela Needing.
See, he went from July 2nd, 5th, 7th, 7th, and then he gave it a little bit of a break.
Yep.
And then
Almost 2
into
weeks.
Leela and Maxine.
Well, we say that, but do you think there's any chances there was other crimes, burglary, that maybe weren't linked to him? Or do you
Possibly.
think, like that's one thing to consider too, is that he could have been active and not.
Or he could have, they said he went between San Francisco and Los Angeles a
Right.
lot. He went back and forth. Maybe he gets the goods, leaves town to go take them to the northern pawn shop. So in case somebody does report it stolen, then comes back down to do his, victim spree or crimes.
You're talking like maybe little cat burglaries here where it's just something like he breaks in, nobody's home.
Well, from his
And then-
previous victim, he might take the goods up to San Francisco,
Right,
and then
'cause he's
sell it
been-
at a pawn shop
yeah.
up there, then come back down. Because the police would survey the home and see what's missing or try to see what's missing, and it would draw more attention to him if he stayed in the LA area.
Very, very good.
First thing they do is hit the pawn shops because they know he's going to try to sell it off.
That's why there's a pawn shop in like every corner in
Something
major
like that.
cities.
Something like that, yep.
And the reason why I bring that up, and like what Ron was just saying, remind me at the end here, I have a little side note once we get to the end here about that.
About that, okay.
Yeah. As just thinking about these timelines we're looking at, there could have been stuff that
In between, that they're not focused on.
right. That maybe people didn't even report if they weren't home.
Or conversely, just think of the Zodiac. He just magically went a couple of years, and his body count went from
13 to 37 or
13
whatever.
to 37.
Right.
Okay, where did that come from?
Right.
Again, that's conversely to, I mean, this is LA. There's got to be stuff happening all the time, and it like just like in any large city.
Mm-hmm.
What actually might he have done otherwise that didn't make this
Headlines or whatever.
these highlights of his illustrious career?
Career.
Well, I mean, it was a short-lived career, but he sure as hell made the most of it. So July 20th, 1985, Maxon and Leela Needing. This was a snatch and grab, quick and done. Maxon and Leela were both hacked with a machete
Oh, he's getting gruesome.
and shot in the head.
Oh, man.
They did not survive.
And this was in Glendale. And how far away is that from Monterey Park?
Crisscross. He's going across the county. But at this point, now I think they know it's all the same guy, because I believe at this point it's really in the news strong about what's going on. And people are really getting scared because he's really slashing and killing people and getting really, really violent.
Does anybody have his, there were two other names before he was called the Night Stalker, that they settled on the Night Stalker, but they were two names and they weren't very good. Like the names weren't as catchy.
Wasn't something
It
like
was-
the
it was-
break-in guy?
It
or
was,
something?
it was
The
some,
like
LA
Keeping Tom,
Snatcher.
Yeah.
literally it was that plain Jane like kind of thing. One was like the walk-in killer, and the other
I
one was
heard
like
that.
the screen door killer or something like that, or
And then-
screen door or something. Or
And then he heard Night Stalker, and that was the one that he started using,
well, yeah,
or that stuck.
the one news agency used Night Stalker, and it kind of stuck. But it was the walk-in killer, and then I think it was like the screen door killer. Or
But I think before we did this, when Zap was asking about the Night Stalker, saying that he didn't know much about it, he was asking like which one, because there
Yeah,
was
there's two.
there was others.
There's
Two,
Previous.
Yeah.
there's two, if not three.
There's a previous one.
Yeah,
Older
yeah,
guy.
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But it's weird how this one became the most
Infamous.
infamous. Yes,
Right.
That's
like El Guapo.
That's right. God damn it, Matt, you nailed it. You nailed it, man. Good job. Good job.
Thanks, man. Thanks.
He's not just famous; he's infamous.
Yes.
Oh, so
Yeah. Where are we moving now?
well, no,
Who are
we're
we?
not. We're not moving far.
Oh,
we're not
okay.
moving. We're not
Okay.
moving
We're
too
still
far.
we're still in Glendale.
Well-
with the Needing family.
He just finished with Maxon and Leela Needing. Same night, July 20th, 1985. The same night. He makes his way to, and I'm going to do my best here, Chainarong Kovananth and his wife Samkid Kovananth and their son. So a family of three. We'll call it the Kovananth family.
The Covananth 3.
There you go.
It doesn't seem like he's stalking these ones. Originally, he was like kind of setting up his prey, stalking them, seeing who they were, and then went to attack them. Now he's getting a little random to where he's like stumbling on people and then going after them.
So he was in Glendale on his last one, and I think this one was in.
Sun Valley.
There you go, Sun Valley.
Sun Valley.
Is that that's got
Los
to be?
Angeles. These are all, he's getting smaller towns. I'm wondering if he's just stumbling on these people and seeing them and just going for them.
Like you said, I mean, we were talking about this before. We were wondering if he was walking places, but this guy had a knack for stealing cars.
Maybe he's stealing cars, or he can't get in the car and he sees people, or he starts getting in the car and then he's like, "Oh, they live here. This is their car, and let's go."
Yeah,
get 'em."
I think he's spotting things like more quickly. Like you said, he's not really stalking at this time. He's just
He
just
could be
going
drugged
for it.
out too. We don't know
True.
the mindset
Yeah.
of the serial guy who's high on all these different drugs.
This guy's playing his own game of Grand Theft Auto right now.
Pretty much.
He really is.
Pretty much.
Well, he really is, because he makes his way in the house, and first things first, bam, one bullet right to the head of the husband,
Yeah.
right to the head, dead. He then binds the son, binds the wife, rapes and beats the wife.
He leaves the son alone. He just
He leaves the son alone
okay.
to watch while he rapes
Rapes,
and beats his mother.
So then it is probably like an excitement thing with him. That
Oh,
how
Could
he-
very
yeah.
well be.
Yeah,
I
'cause
think it's
why-
the power in the audience. You know what I
Right.
mean?
and the husband's a threat. You know, the male in the house is probably a threat, physical threat. Let's take it, because I think he did that on previous ones. Maybe one, or when there was he'd take the guy out first and then do what he wants with the female.
So
or the
this
women
is
in the
a
house.
this is a really different perspective. I had always been of the impression, or at least the understanding, that rape isn't necessarily a like a when you're all horned up. It's more a crime of rage.
Or control. Maybe it's a control thing. He
Sure.
wants the power and control to like take these people over. Because think of it, if you're home and you're with your wife or your significant other, and somebody comes in and terminates you in front of them, they're going to feel total weakness.
Mhm.
They know you mean business. You just killed, so there's no like, I'm going to shoot him if you don't comply.
This was one
You
tap to
did
the
it
head. I
already.
just killed your husband.
Yes, and you're going to be next, or your son will be next.
But that's with Carol Kyle from May 30th, her 11-year-old son, and now July 20th, the Covananth. How would you say that?
I would-
Covananth.
exactly like you just said, Joe Covananth.
The Covananth family, their 8-year-old son, as these kids 8 and 11, watching that, and can you imagine the counseling and the trying to get over that in your lifetime? That's something that
No.
never goes away.
No.
And I think that was part of his this Satanistic thing that he
Planting the seed, the
yeah
seed of
that,
sickness.
that he thought he had in himself, and this is a way why he may have left these kids alone, was a way of him like you said, spreading the sickness.
Immortalizing himself.
Yes,
Maybe-
and this is something they will never forget, and he has that.
Maybe turning him into what he was. Like, this is what happened to me at 12, 13. I saw these images
Yes.
of just
He
rape
one-upped
and
it. He
murder.
one-upped it. He one-upped it.
He sure did.
Yeah,
Well,
because they're seeing it live now. I mean, he was looking at pictures of this, same type acts.
Or he thinks it's okay. Maybe he thinks it's okay.
Right. The guy was obviously
Demented.
sick. Yeah. I mean, you can find one good thing about him throughout his life.
But
Is there
to do
anything-
these things, and this guy's just back out on the street, it's one of the, you can't understand or like wrap your mind around just how you can do something like this and then go back and get a meal, hang out with a friend, go somewhere and
Sit in the park, feed the pigeons.
yes,
Right, whatever.
it makes no sense.
Well, it's humans. You don't know what the guy's like next to you.
If you look at serial killers, though, some of the other ones, they were able to function, like go to jobs, trick people into thinking they're good people.
Yes,
This
yes.
guy, I don't know that he had any
He
good
didn't
or
care.
any
Yeah,
kinda-
he had nothing to
like,
trick.
Look
He
at
just
John Wayne Gacy, like he served like
big in the community.
Yeah, he did
he
stuff.
served on all kinds of councils. He
yeah.
was a member of who the guys that wear the rings.
yeah
The Masons?
the
Mason.
yeah
Yeah, he was well respected in the community.
The
Not-
guys that wear the rings.
yeah the guy-
Masons,
How did you know?
husbands.
How did you know? No, the guys who wear the rings. You knew exactly what I was talking about.
Right.
It's like a society. It's a club, and he was well respected. And then he was burying guys underneath his house.
College graduates.
Yeah.
Ramirez, you don't know what he did in
High
his
school
time.
graduates.
His time off the clock. He might have been laid back.
That's
chill.
what I wonder. Like we don't know much about his because he was like a loner kind of. But
Well,
like
he had his little
if
prostitutes he
my
visited.
point is if you met him on the street or like like these other people had interactions with people, like I'd be curious to what his like when he's not doing this, like what is he like? What is he up to? Is he just evil all the time?
No, I don't think so. I think
he
he meshed in or was a little quirky, but
I think what
Like
Ron
it's
said,
just-
quirky is a good word for it. I think
Quirky.
he would look different. He kind of smell bad. He'd be somebody you wouldn't want to hang out with, but
you'd give him the eye, like, oh, I don't know if I want to mess with him.
somebody you would see on a bus
Right.
somewhere in L.A.
Yep,
Right.
and you just wouldn't mess with him. You'd avoid him.
right. No, I get all that, but I'm just saying I wonder what his demeanor was.
I got to believe that the evil in this guy, he didn't turn it off and turn it on. It turned itself off and turned itself on.
I don't know, man, because it seemed that he had the ability to, attract women even after he was captured. They say
Yeah, right.
he was
Yeah.
charismatic, so I don't think it was like.
God
it's
damn
not-
it, Ron, you just ruined it.
No, we'll talk about that. You don't
but
know.
what I'm trying to say is that, you know what I mean? It's just like a dog, like a German Shepherd. The dog looks pretty. Oh, look at that. 2 seconds later, it's tearing your leg
You
off.
say
and they
you
got
say
the
one of
one
them
to kill.
German words, and it's ripping your leg
Yeah,
off.
it's ripping your leg off. So this guy might have been just like a quirky looking dude that, like, oh, he's kind of dirty and disgusting. I don't want to mess with him. Look in his eyes. Oh, he's got those killer eyes. But you don't think he has it because he's so small. You're not intimidated by him.
It's not like eyes like a shark's eyes. You're not looking into like
Dead.
a
They're
like a
dead.
dead
They're
eye.
dead eyes, yes.
But he, like he said, he was charismatic. He got women, so you looked at him, and I guess he could turn that charm on.
Yeah, so it's easy.
Well, so after one tap to the head, husband dead, the wife and the son survived. This was yet another one of those instances where after he robbed them, after he made, the mother lead him to where all of the valuables were, made her swear to Satan that she wasn't hiding anymore.
I wonder if he feels his luck's running out because it just seems like, he's getting lazy. I don't know if he's just getting sloppy, but he's getting lazy. He's not carrying out his normal MO. It seems like things are starting to get, unwind a little bit with him.
Things are starting to unwind. And when we come back, we are going to hear just how soon they do. All right. Welcome back, everybody. When last we left, our sinister Satanist just shot a husband in the head, left the wife alive, and left their son alive.
That was a Covanant family.
That was the Covanant family.
Yeah, and here we go back to where we at.
We are 2.5 weeks later on August 6th, 1985.
I guess he got a decent score because he took some time
Yes, he
off.
did. Took
There
some
you
time
go.
off.
Or I'm telling you, I think he was leaving the city. I think he was leaving to go pawn his goods.
It makes complete sense.
He's too perpetual. He's too like on top of his
A
crimes.
Greyhound ride up to
Yep,
San Francisco.
Go sell your stuff off. Do whatever you're doing.
Wait,
out
LA.
there.
That he would go down to San Francisco.
Up. North.
Okay.
Yeah,
North.
and
Up north.
That brings
About a 12-hour bus ride.
Okay, yeah, it gives him time to chill, meditate. He's not doing nothing. Got all the monies in his pocket.
Right, because you
Yeah.
can't sell it in LA. You're gonna get marked.
brings me back to, like I said, remind me at the end. I got something on
Okay.
that.
Okay.
Our guy enters the home of Chris and Virginia Peterson. This was apparently a fast, quick, simple, and easy one.
Northridge, what's that suburb?
L.A. It's still he's all in the city. They're a bunch of little tiny cities. He's like skirting in a little bit.
He went from Glendale, Sun Valley to Northridge.
Yep, he's just bouncing around now, zigzagging.
And now in Northridge, at the home of Chris and Virginia Peterson, shoots Virginia in the face.
Shot the woman this time.
Shoots Chris in the neck. Both survive.
Yeah,
Didn't this guy?
This one.
Didn't he chase him out of the
Chased him
house
out of the house.
after a gunshot? Heard that his wife was shot, and then the Night Stalker shot Chris, and then Chris chased him, actually with a 22 in his neck.
Yeah.
Chased him out of the house, and this is where the cops started saying that this guy was a weakling, a scaredy cat. Like they put it out there,
Like taunting him.
yeah. They put it out there that this guy's.
If you fight back, he might run away.
Yeah,
Bro,
he has no backbone.
He has. Women have been able to fend them off and things like
Very
that.
true.
Right.
Because like you said, Dave, he was what,
I think
160
they said
pounds,
like
something like that?
150. I think I heard like 150.
And he was quite tall, right?
I don't know how tall he was, but
I think not 5'9" or something.
Oh,
6'5",
okay, not
something like
really.
that.
All right.
Yeah, but it seems if you have a gun and you shoot people and you're running, that doesn't kind of fit the bill. After you've killed all these other people, so why wouldn't you finish them off?
Or again, he's high as a freaking kite. And he realizes the gun thing don't work. He's like, oh shit.
Maybe he's either high or sober, one of the two.
One of the
He's
two.
something.
One
I
of the
mean,
two.
We've been back and forth and all around in so many circles. on
Yeah,
this.
yeah. We can't figure it out.
I mean, I'm no scientist, but I can't figure out, and I don't think any of us can figure out the mind of this madman.
Well, because he has so many.
Yeah.
Depending on the drugs or what he's taking. If he's taking all different type of drugs, he goes from angry to laid back to high as a kite or invincible.
And that's why we do these podcasts. Like if anybody, like you're out there listening also, and you're in your minds, you're like, what is going on? And that's what, like, all of us, and that's why we do these, is because you can't understand it.
And neither can the police or law enforcement, because
And
the
that's
guy's so
it, yep.
scattered, he doesn't have a standard MO.
there's nothing. Yeah.
It's hard to fight. There's no pattern. There's no this. It's just random.
No matter who you are, where you lived out there, you just felt like you could be a victim. Basically,
You were
right?
absolutely a potential victim.
Oh yeah, yep.
And it had to, I guess, like you said, the community was just scared shitless.
Yep, at that
because you
point.
didn't know.
But I think that the police saying that he was a coward made people willing to fight back. They didn't think he was some type of supervillain or anything. They're finding that this guy is able to be taken out. And vigilantes I know groups started getting together, and they're telling the community, listen, stick together, pay attention, do this, do that. Stop him before he enters was the thing.
Before he gets in the house.
You want to see a community come together. We're going to see that here in the next few weeks.
Oh, okay.
Oh, I can't wait to get to that part.
Good job, LA.
So 2 days later, after the Peterson couple survives, on August 8th, 1985, he makes his way to the Abawath house, home of Sakina Abawath, her husband Elias Abawath, and their son. The following is very, very reminiscent of the attempted murder previous to Chris and Virginia Peterson in the Covanent family. So we've got a husband and a wife and their son.
Yeah, every so often this guy ends up hitting a husband, wife, and they always have like a child, a young child. But it's not, it just pops up.
Maybe he's targeting them. I'm wondering if he
Okay.
thinks that's something because the baby or the kid is like leverage.
Maybe. Yeah.
True, like he wants to see what the kid does.
Yes.
So this, I think, is in the Diamond Bar.
Diamond Bar area. Yep. That's that's outer part, San Dimas kind of area, outskirts, Riverside County.
San
San
Dimas
Dimas,
High School football
yeah.
rules.
Yes. I
Yes.
was thinking of that Bill
Bill and Ted.
Yeah.
Okay.
How far from...
You know that right?
No.
You don't Bill and Ted Excellent Adventure?
No.
Oh man.
Not my cup of tea.
Keanu Reeves.
You never seen that? We can do a review on that. You can watch it.
Never rode that boat.
Yeah, George
We'll
Carlin.
put that out there. Yeah, George Carlin is in it.
They're in a phone booth and they
Go back in time.
and stuff. Yeah.
Kind of like the DeLorean or no?
No, they go back into like ancient history because they're trying to do a project for social studies or
Yeah,
something.
yeah.
Yeah, history.
Okay.
They're doing a history project.
It's for another day, but
Okay. No
yeah.
problem. No
we
problem.
couldn't let that one go. San
We'll get
No
Dimas.
there.
problem. No problem. Diamond Bar.
Yes.
Diamond Bar, San Dimas High School football rules. How far from the last location?
Depends on what part of town you're in. It's hard to guess. That varies. It's like
Yeah, where's Diamond Bar compared to like USC?
far.
Oh, okay.
Way across town.
Way across town.
Way across
All
town.
right.
You're
On
just like,
opposite ends, Diamond Bar is close to Riverside County, which means you're going southeast.
That sounds like a cool
Southeast.
place though, like Diamond Bar.
Sounds like if you're a crook, that'd be a good place.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
at
mean, I
Diamonds.
just think-
Show up
In a
at the bar. Yeah, I'd like
Yeah.
a glass of diamonds, please.
Yeah, he's probably thinking that's where you go to score. You know, I don't know.
He likes the outsides, I see.
He likes something. And
roll
apparently this evening on August 8th, he likes the Abawath house. So just like a mirror image of the Covanth attempted murders back on July 20th. Just like it. Sees the husband, one tap to the head, kills the husband.
Now, didn't he move on from using the 22 pistol? Didn't he have a 25 or something? What he was using something with a red primer on the bullet.
I
think
can't.
I
I
think-
don't know the ballistics
I
on
think
this.
the 22 was the one with the red.
With the 22 he still
Yeah.
had, but he used the red. It was a very old type of
right,
bullet.
and that's going to tie into the
Yeah,
next
it's gonna.
one.
Yeah, and it has a red.
The ammo does.
Yeah, the ammo has like a red gel type around the primer, which was they looked at it and found it like where is he getting this from? But it tied it into the murders.
This is all news to me, and I can't wait to get to this.
Yeah.
This is
Interesting.
fantastic.
Good detective work.
How about that? So, a husband, bullet to the head, killed. Alas, farewell, Elias Abawath. Sakina lives. So does their son. Similar to the Covanth attempt,
Did he rape Sakina?
the wife is handcuffed and raped.
He loves to bind them. I don't get that.
The son is tied up while, again, just like the last one, while Ramirez continued to rape.
Well, the binding
The
they
mother.
can't do anything. They're bound. They're tied. They're not a worry. They're not a bother.
That and back to the pictures and stuff. Like his cousin showed
Oh,
him. And
yeah.
it had all that stuff.
Going way
in it.
back.
I mean that had to set
Bound,
in
tied, heads cut off.
set into motion what he wants to see and what turns him on. I would guess. I mean that's just a guess.
Who knows?
Who
Or
knows?
that maybe that happened to him as a child. You never know.
Could have been. Yeah, he could have.
And that's
been
why we talk
abused
about
and
this.
all
There's
that.
so many different points, views. That's why like the four of us are sitting here, like, but we still can't figure it out.
Right.
You can't get into the mind of a
We don't
murderer
want.
like
We don't
that.
want to.
I don't. I
We
wouldn't-
don't want
yeah.
to.
You don't want to go down that path.
No.
I'm good on that one. Very, again, exactly, not even very similar, exactly the same as the Covanth situation that had happened on July 20th. Here on August 8th, the husband, single tap to the head with a bullet, gone. He's dead. His wife and son both survive, just like the Covanth incident.
Left him alone. Left him and
All he got was a rape out of it.
And probably some money.
Well, there's that.
right.
With regard to their lives.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Like,
then-
like I think Ron mentioned earlier, and so it probably is like you said about the rage, maybe on the ones where there was nothing there,
Yes.
like of value, he killed him out of rage. But if he got, goods or whatever he was looking to sell, and he took the husbands out or the
threat.
the
He
threat,
took the threat out. Yep.
got the sexual gratification, and got stuff to pawn off, and he's good.
Yep.
So the murders are more of either out of necessity to disable or disarm or not disarm but
Terminate.
terminate, and then the other ones are just out of rage, like, oh, there was nothing here, like you didn't have anything
I'm
good.
mad.
I'm
I'm gonna
mad.
teach you a
and I'm
lesson
gonna-
or whatever,
I'm
right?
gonna- yeah.
And then, but what? 10 days later, Zap?
Well, before we get to 10 days later, it apparently means that what I'm foreseeing here is that this guy had a pretty good score on the 8th, because 10 days later, he made his way, I believe, to San Francisco.
Yep.
Maybe it wasn't a good score. Maybe he's on that Greyhound. He's going up north.
Yeah, you had to take some time off. Would you say it's
go
like
go pawn this stuff up north?
how far is the drive for that Greyhound bus?
About 12 hours.
12 hours. So that's sitting for a while, man, on a Greyhound bus.
Fair.
But he's getting juiced up.
And
True.
he is
He
no
don't
stranger
care.
to stealing cars.
That's true.
Who's to
But he's
say?
so stinky on that long trip, man.
Yeah.
6 to 8 hours driving.
so stinky. 10 days later, August 18th,
Imagine sitting next to that dude.
pass. He enters the home of Peter and Barbara Pan. So, yes,
Peter Pan.
the husband's name was Peter Pan, and his wife was Barbara. And apparently is still Barbara.
Survivor.
Peter was, here we go again, shot in the head, one bullet, killed. Wife was beaten and raped, but survived.
And that's where the red primer bullets come into effect.
Right.
Is when they found this stuff out in San Francisco, and it turned into a fiasco.
Right. So there was a San Francisco detective, Frank Falzon.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. In the first part of the Night Stalker, at the end, I referenced that when he was on trial, he was in the car with police officers or detectives, and he was referencing another crime up in San Francisco, and he said, "Wouldn't you like to know who did that?" Well, guess what? It was me. Basically, this was that detective that I was trying to reference in the first part.
Okay.
And he was one of the detectives, I guess, here on the scene and investigating all this. They had, put an all points bulletin for California, I guess, just to be on the lookout. There was a murder up here, blah, 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 and they didn't really have anybody. They couldn't connect it. Somehow they got the information from L.A. about the red bullets. Hey, what kind of caliber weapon was it? 22. What kind
Red
of bullets?
primer.
Just out of curiosity, were the bullets? Well, yeah, they were. It was like an like an older ammo, like older, what do you call it?
Older type of ammunition.
Yes, it was like from like a long time ago.
Like World War II bullets.
Right,
So
something
they're
like
still
that.
good. Like bullets got a long shelf life.
Right. It was like an ammo that you wouldn't just go down the store and buy. It was like a very rare, I guess, maybe, or something along those lines. So it's not like it was readily available.
But then, like the two LA detectives caught a flight right away to go to San Fran.
We're on our way. Yeah.
Yeah, and then the local media got news of it, and they were like, "I know why they're going there. Let's take a chance." So there was 4 people out to San Fran,
Right.
to see what was going on. So it's 2 of the local LA cops. What were the names?
It was Salerno,
And
Cirillo, or
Carrillo, and Salerno.
yep, Gil.
And then it was 2 people from the media that followed right behind them. Like those guys know what's going on. Let's follow them.
They got on the plane.
Were they sheriffs or were they LAPD? Or don't you know?
I think they were
LAPD
I know.
That's-
I think
that's
they were
a little odd.
detectives.
Yeah.
Okay.
The Salerno actually was the one. He took down the Hillside Strangler. He was the one that took him down in that whole investigation and stuff. So he was kind of like well known, and we'll get into that later. But
I can tell you that both of those guys were pissed. Real pissed.
oh yeah,
Because the mayor of San Francisco,
Barbara Feinstein.
Diane.
Diane, is that it? Diane Feinstein?
Feinstein.
Yes, Barbara.
he's new here. It's fine.
She's known as Barb, if you're friends.
Okay.
Well, this mayor, trying to make herself or her efforts or the police department's efforts look really, really good, divulged at a press conference, hey, people at large, we have the ballistic information on the bullets, and we've got the goddamn shoe size and the shoe type and the whatever relative to this killer. We're on to him, and we're going to catch him.
Pause. They were sheriff's detectives, not
Oh,
LAPD.
okay. All right.
The places he targeted were in the sheriff's realm. LAPD only monitors the inner cities.
okay.
Why that's important is because it takes a long time for the sheriffs to come out of their one station and run to the outskirts to get to the victims' homes.
They were traveling all over
Well,
the place.
Well, because that's what I was saying. His targets were at the outer parts of LA County. The sheriffs cover the whole county.
Gotcha.
So there's far and few in between to cover that area. This is pre-computers in the car and cell phones. They'd get a call. It's going to take them 20. If there's no traffic, 20 minutes. If there's traffic, an hour to get him. So if he was paying attention to everything, depending on the time he's doing the crime, hey, there's no way a cop can get to me for at least an hour.
Gotcha.
I can do my thing.
And that was actually something they brought up. That's a good point, Ron, because they brought that up in the Netflix series, how with the highway system in California and how there's all these different, what's the word I'm looking for? Jurisdictions, I
Yes.
guess. He could commit a crime on one side of LA, jump on the highway, and be gone before
Anybody
would even, you know what I mean? And then the communication wasn't really fast enough to put 2 and 2 together. But yeah.
Yeah,
That's a
so
good
most
point.
of his crimes are with the sheriff's department, which is also not funded like the LAPD. It's a big different thing.
Okay.
Our sheriff, you guys might understand this. Our sheriffs out there cover the counties. Your sheriffs here just do like probation warrants and stuff like that.
Yeah, they'll come pick you up or knock on the door.
They carry a bigger stick out there. They
Gotcha.
tune you up a little bit better if you get caught messing around.
So back to San Francisco where we
Yeah,
were at.
after that fun fact, back in San Francisco with the timing of communication, Ramirez stayed very attuned to the local news. He kept his eyes on the prize, right? He kept his ear to the everything that was going on, man. So he was reading the papers, he was watching the news. As soon as Mayor Feinstein comes out with this little ingot or two, Ramirez takes his shoes and throws them right off the Golden Gate Bridge.
Oh, wow.
He said, what? They got my shoe size? They got my shoe type? They know that I'm stomping people with Asics or whatever the hell type of shoes?
Avias. Skater shoes.
Avias.
Mm-hmm.
Famous skater.
Bam. He throws them right off the bridge.
Into the Golden Gate.
Now, at this time, too, he was leaving more of like the Satanistic symbols. And
Pentagon.
Yeah, he was leaving stuff at the murder scenes just because he knew.
Taunting.
Yes, because the media and the cops, everybody was involved, and it was kind of like he was taunting.
And back to the shoes, they actually had gotten in touch with Avia. It was like a smaller shoe company.
Right.
And there was only 6 pair or 5 pair of those made.
In that size.
In that size.
color.
And there was just
like
one.
That print, yes.
Yeah.
1 went to California, 4 went to Arizona, or 5. It was 6, whatever it was, it added up. That 1 pair went to California.
And they were saying
it took a while, though. The
so
cataloging.
So many of his murder scenes, like they were just kept finding that Avia footprint.
Yep.
Yeah, and it was, and they're like, man, we have this guy. Like, we just need to find these shoes, but it led nowhere.
So this mayor kind of messed it all up.
Yeah, good job. But that doesn't stop this guy from going. This guy's got a fix he has to have. He just has to have it.
He's jonesing.
He might be getting a second high, though, from the notoriety.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe now that he's getting famous and notoriety and he sees his, he knows they're chasing him or whatever, he's getting another rush.
Well, he's also got to find himself a new pair of shoes. So 6 days after the home of Peter and Barbara Pan is desecrated, on August 24th, 1985, he makes his way to the home of James Romero and family. So this is a dad, a mom, and a son.
Mission Viejo. He's in Mission Viejo. He's scattering around a little bit.
I think at this point he's getting antsy and pantsy. I don't think there's much longer left for this guy's trail.
Is Mission Viejo, is that higher end?
Yes.
Yes. I've had heard that.
So our hero enters their home.
Don't say that.
Villain.
Yeah,
Villain.
we got to watch
enough.
who's listening.
Yes, please.
Our villain enters the home. While mom and dad are sleeping, the son's outside, emptying the car, doing whatever kids do while their parents are upstairs sleeping.
What time of the day is this? Or
This is
nighttime?
at night.
Okay.
Yeah.
And
This is for sure at night. He's emptying a car. He's taking stuff out of the car.
so like a teenager type?
Sure.
Okay.
I think he was 13.
All right. Okay, that
Yeah.
makes sense.
So as Ramirez is trying to enter the house and do whatever he's doing, the son hears this going down. So he heard this prowler, and he goes looking for it. He hears windows opening, right? He hears bushes, rustling.
Rustling, yep.
Kid goes to look. Ramirez knows and sees the kid looking for him. So Ramirez just completely flees the scene. He gets the hell out of there. So all 3 survive without a blemish. Not one. So nobody shot, nobody beaten, nobody tied up, nobody anything. This guy basically goes in the house. The kid saw him from the outside, follows this guy and sees it. And Ramirez realizes that he has been seen or knows that he's entered this house, and he just jets. He gets right the hell out.
His mission was aborted.
Yep.
Yes, mission abort.
Hey, who's that now? Pops.
Yep.
And is Mission Viejo both in Orange County?
Yep. That is Orange County. Yep.
Oh, okay.
This kid was smart. This kid was really smart. Not only was he able to, of course, the police were contacted. He was able to provide to the police the make, model, and color of Ramirez's car. And he gave them a partial plate number.
Partial plate.
Yeah.
It's a big one. Yeah, that was
I remember that
that was
part.
means to an end right there.
Mm-hmm.
Same night, after a failed attempt at the Romero home, our villain makes his way to Bill Carnes' place, where he's hosting his fiancée, Inez Erickson.
Hosting, eh?
Hosting.
Wow. Mission Viejo.
Poor Bill. Shot in the head 3 times. And again, so this is same night, same location, as Matt had just said. Mission Viejo.
Yep.
Okay.
The chick
Lady.
Lady Inez was raped, beaten, and, similar to other victims, forced to swear, in this case, that she loved Satan. Not that he had taken everything out of the house. She was just forced to swear that she loved Satan.
Very odd.
Well, what's odd is that the guy was shot in the head 3 times. She was raped and beaten. Both survived.
Wow.
It's at 22 caliber.
I don't know if they really survived something like that.
Yeah, no.
That scar is permanent.
What kind of surviving is that, really?
Yeah.
None of them ever. Yeah, the survivors, I don't think ever really survived. That's a good point.
As this guy is, so they've got a make, model, color of the car. They got a partial plate. Now, obviously, this was a stolen vehicle, but they're able to identify this car and look for this guy. After this incident with Inez Erickson and Bill Carnes, Erickson was able to give a detailed description of Ramirez to the police. Completely detailed. Fingerprints were able to be matched. Ramirez was now officially linked and identified.
Wasn't he arrested earlier for something small? And they had it on file or something like
They
that?
for sure had his fingerprints on file. Yeah.
Yeah, but fingerprints weren't as easy to get back then. They weren't in a system, so you had to go and get the people to check the lines, and it took a long time.
I lived back then, I know.
Yes. Back then.
Yeah.
1874.
Yep.
Way
They had the
back.
prints on the microfiche, and they just scanned through the microfiche.
Back in my day.
I remember doing that in the in the library. You had to look on the microfiche or the microfilm.
Yeah,
pull
but
it
my
up.
point with that is that he broke into all these homes, so they had a copy of his prints. They just couldn't get
Couldn't
it too
get it.
quick.
Mhm.
Today, the computers would have popped it real fast.
Yeah,
Bing,
5
there he
minutes.
is. Yep. Or DNA, one of the two.
True.
So, Zap, I don't know. Do you have anything in there about how they actually linked him and when they actually got the name and all that?
Do tell.
Okay. So I didn't want to
No,
step
I've been
on your toes. I'm
I've been
sorry.
telling so much so far. Please.
So that murder up in San Francisco, there was a burglary after that there was a 16-year-old girl that was at the house alone. She was a niece of the couple that lived there. She heard somebody breaking in, coming in through a window. She hid in a closet and was undetected by the intruder. He came in, which we'll later we'll find out is Ramirez, stole a bunch of stuff, jewelry, different things like that. The husband had bought the wife this jewelry and had her social security number imprinted on the jewelry, maybe partial part of it or the whole number. He took all this jewelry and headed back towards L.A. It was Lompoc. Lompoc, is that how you say it? California?
Lompoc, yeah.
Lompoc, California.
Prison town.
Right. And offloaded it on this guy. Basically, they got money for it or whatever. This guy was an informant for the police down there. And basically, he brought it to them and was like, hey, I got, I don't know exactly how.
Was he a friend of his or something?
It was a friend of his, and Ramirez had unloaded this stuff to him. Well, they matched it to the missing stuff because of the serial numbers on it, which were a social security number, I guess. Linked it to that crime. They were like, well, who's this friend of yours? We need the name. We need the name, because they knew it's all connected now. And the guy was like, I'm not giving you his name, this and that. The cop kind of roughed him up a little bit. And he's like, all right, it's Richard Ramirez. Basically gave him the name.
Wow.
So that-
Richie or
Richie.
something.
He was like Richie.
Rick or
Richie
Richie.
Ramirez.
Something, yeah.
So the cops now have his name. So they go in, they have fingerprints, partial prints. They find the car, the Toyota, got abandoned, the orange Toyota. They had prints from there, and I think from maybe
The
a
license
couple,
plate
right.
matched.
They had just started that fingerprinting system, the electronic one.
Are you talking about, so with this, you're not talking about the one from birth. You're talking about the,
The criminal one.
gotcha.
Criminal one.
Right.
Gotcha.
On file, digitally.
Now here's the crazy part. So his birth date was January 20, like the end of, it was January, 1960. They only had criminals in there from like January 1st. Like he just met the cutoff by like less than
just
a
hit
month, but he was in there.
That's what I was thinking of.
Right.
Yeah, not the, got it. Yep.
So they put his fingerprints in there and boom, got a hit. And it was just by chance, you know what I mean? Just all,
By luck.
it all came together. But yeah, he was a month away. If he would have been born a month early, he would have never been in that database. But they did have the name by then. But
They were
still,
going to get him anyway.
right. But that's kind of how it all came together. It was from a burglary in between all this and stolen merchandise.
Dang.
So he was stealing. It seems like he was committing crimes without victims home.
That's what I was saying about earlier when we had downtime in between these murders. He maybe was just like getting houses that were empty or, that type of stuff.
He did that on his downtime.
Maybe. I mean, we don't know that for sure.
The monster wasn't calling him to attack a person.
He just needed some money. Get the hell out.
So that was basically it. That was just like that part of it. And then I guess we're at the capture where now they know who they're looking
he's
for.
In transportation.
Right.
But like I was suggesting earlier, he's pawning opposite from where he steals.
Right. So that's what,
Sure. It's basically like you're not going to shit where you eat.
Typically, when you do pawn stuff, you got to give your print. When you pawn stuff in, they want a form of ID or your fingerprints. So when the police come and they find they have stolen merchandise, they can say, hey, this guy gave it to me. And then they check the crime scene for that theft, and then it locks you.
Were they doing that in the 80s? Like the shady pawn shops? Okay.
They weren't shady, just the pawn shops.
Okay.
But yes, that was a regular occurrence.
Cool. I didn't know that.
It's interesting.
Mm-hmm.
So, fun fact, if anyone needs to pawn anything, make sure you're ready to give up your fingerprint.
Always.
Oh, yeah. I did not know that. That's crazy.
Well, especially, I mean, if you go in there probably with like a $25,000 Rolex trying to pawn it off, they'll be like, where did you, oh, it's mine. But they need to have something.
They need proof so it makes them exempt from
stolen goods.
Holding stolen goods, possession of stolen goods or whatever. And they can prove this is where it came from. Then it helps the police catch the person, the perpetrator, if there is one.
I'm sure that happens a lot still.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of drug addicts. Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Sure are.
So now they have the picture of this guy. They know who it is.
They got
correct?
the picture. They got the prints. They got the car. They got the plate. They got
trail's heating up.
Oh, it sure is, and it's heating up all right because 6 days later, on the magical day, August 30th, 1985. So Ramirez is just walking around town, makes his way into a Quickie Mart, and a bunch of old ladies see him, and they start screaming, El Matador. Now, do we have any Mexican-speaking people out there who could tell me what El Matador means?
Or Spanish.
Thank you.
Or Spanish.
Yeah, that would make sense.
The killer.
I think you know what a matador is.
He's the killer of the beast.
So it's interesting. I've known a matador as the guy that holds the red cape for the bullfight, right?
He's going to kill the bull.
He's going to kill the bull.
I never knew that part. I always thought that he was just trying to dodge the bull.
No, he's trying to kill the bull. But if the bull survives, the bull gets to live in the field forever and graze.
But that's after they stab him 60 times and then
if they get that far,
drive a sword into him.
See, the furthest I've ever seen a matador was in a Bugs Bunny cartoon.
Oh,
Where nobody's getting stabbed there. No.
Okay. They usually drink the blood if they take him down.
What?
No, in Spain, it's a very big thing. You can see it on YouTube.
Stop.
Yes.
It's bloody. It's not pleasant.
They sit there, they bleed, deal. They stab them for about an hour.
Yeah, and those bulls are big.
Plus, they're hit in their neck, so their head has to stay down. They're like stabbed.
That's the attempt, and those matadors get paid good money.
This is amazing.
Well, they're like football players. They're
very, very famous.
They make so much money. They have the biggest houses. Studs.
Yep.
This is awesome.
It's an art form. It's a dance. It's a dance that they do. How they take them down.
I can see that. I can definitely see that. So
El Matador.
with a
Killer.
with a bunch of old ladies calling him El Matador, also known as the Killer. As Ramirez is running away out of this convenience or away from these ladies, he's walking by a newsstand, throw a quarter in, you're able to pull a paper out. He sees his face on a front page of the newspaper with a headline calling him Invasor Nocturno, which is night invader.
Mm-hmm.
So it must have been a Spanish part of town if it's a Spanish
Must have
newspaper.
been.
So he read Spanish?
Or Mexican, depending on the location.
Well, the language is Spanish, not Mexican.
Yeah.
That's where he's at. He's on the east side.
Right.
And it's all Spanish.
Versus
Integrated.
Okay.
East LA.
Born in East LA. Cheech and Chong.
Yes.
Yeah, Cheese and Chong.
No,
Okay.
they're not good out there.
They're not.
They're sellouts.
Are they really?
Really?
People don't like them there?
Not that much.
No.
They made money off of
Making fun of them.
making fun of
yes.
the
like
place they
parody.
grew up in.
Making fun of the
Yeah.
culture.
Stereotypes and stuff.
Yes.
Interesting. Well, so this guy is now scared shitless. I mean, he just was spotted by a bunch of old ladies calling him the killer. He just saw his face on a newspaper. This guy is on the run. Absolutely on the run.
So the police were right. He is a coward.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
If you say.
Yeah.
He's on the run.
He's got to be.
Well, there we go. They're after him.
Mm.
Some little old ladies pointing and yelling at him. Now he's running, sprinting. So think of it.
I mean, if he's afraid of getting caught, if that makes him a coward, then he must be a coward.
Hang on a second. It's not the police there. It's regular citizens.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
So typically we're in East LA where it's mostly criminals, where we got the don't snitch thing going on, but he's still running because they're yelling. This is where he messes up. He
Absolutely.
Panics. He panics.
Yep. Flashback. We spoke about this earlier in this cast, and here it is. So the community is coming after him. The people who are scared of him are stepping up and saying, "Man, look, there you are. I see you. We're going to get you."
Not yet. That's not what triggered it. I believe he tried to steal a car.
Oh, he's about to, because he attempts to carjack an unlocked Ford Mustang, but was pulled out of this unlocked Ford Mustang by an angry resident, Faustino Pinion.
That's what triggered it.
Because then the guy's like, "Man, my man tried to steal my car," and they're like, "Who? What?"
I think it's his dog. I think a female was in there. I believe, wasn't there?
I can't.
Like that.
Yes,
I don't have that.
So what happens is he triggers because now he's trying to steal from somebody. You remember now, most of his crimes weren't with the Spanish community, so that wasn't a problem on them. But now that you try to steal something from us, now we got a problem.
Oh, we're policing our own.
There you go.
There you go.
Yep,
there it is.
Yep.
They don't need the cops, man.
You don't come into my town and steal from my people.
Correct.
Gotcha.
That's a big no-no.
And then once he said, "This guy's trying to take my car," guy's trying to steal.
Then the mob comes.
Yeah, because everybody's like, "Nah, you ain't taking nobody's car, man. Who's this guy?"
And while the mob is forming, Ramirez runs across the street and attempts to take the car keys from poor Angelina de la Torre.
Getting worse.
This woman's husband, Manuel de la Torre, witnessed this attempt. He's standing right there. He's not but X number of feet away from Angelina. Comes over to Ramirez, chases after Ramirez, and hits him in the head with a fence post as he continues to chase after Ramirez.
Bap.
This is basically, get the hell away from my wife, get the hell away from my car.
Mm-hmm. Or they might think that he's getting ready to target. You know, everything's exploded at this point, so they think he's trying to rape somebody or rob somebody or kill somebody. Not in our hood.
Not in our hood is right, because as we're alluding here, this is where it all starts to grow. So let's just take a minute back. He tries to carjack an unlocked Ford Mustang, gets chased out of there, runs across the street, tries to take some car keys from this woman, and then gets chased after by this woman's husband and gets hit with a fence post. People are watching. People are seeing what's going down. At this point, there's a group of close to a dozen residents forming and chasing Ramirez down Hubbard Street in Boyle Heights.
Wonder if there was Dayton's on that Mustang.
No D's.
Yeah.
No D's. No killer D's.
No killer D's.
They'll let it slide. They'll say they caught him slipping. They'll let him do his thing.
Maybe.
You just need a lead hammer.
Yeah. We learned that.
So by this time, the community is after him. They're
there-
chasing him. They're running down the street.
There are community activists.
Throwing
and by
rocks at
activists,
him.
I mean everybody's active at this point. They're chasing this guy down. So a dozen or so people, close to a dozen people, are chasing him down.
Got the neighbors calling the cops, saying guys running down the street, people chasing him.
People are calling cops. People are doing whatever. But in the meantime, this group of citizens forced him down, held him down, and started beating the shit out of this guy. Now think about that. Really? When does that happen anymore? Does that still happen?
Yes.
Like groupie. Like
Yes.
That's call it that social justice or whatever you want to call it. Like again, like the community
Street
rising up.
justice.
There you go,
Street
street
justice.
justice. That's the word I was looking for. That still happens.
Yes.
I just don't hear. That's a heartwarming story to me, man. I'd love to see that happen.
Pedophiles and things like that.
That's fair.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Out
Okay.
there, yes. If you get marked, you're done.
Well, while some were beating, some were calling, and they were calling the police. So the police arrive.
Now remember, they're calling for their home phones because cell phones run around back then.
That's right.
Right.
That's absolutely right. So police quickly arrive at the 3700 block of Hubbard Street, and they find that Ramirez was severely beaten and unarmed, so they took him into custody.
I thought he ran to the police and told them to arrest me.
Whatever it was, by the end of it,
yelling for them.
he was getting tired of getting beaten up.
This was on the news. Some of this was on the news. Like they had this,
and he kept saying, I did it. You got me. You got me.
Take me away,
Take
please.
me. You got me.
That makes sense because by the end of this, the crowd had grown to several hundred people.
Beating on him and stuff.
Trying to.
Trying to touch him.
Yeah,
get a
there
little
was
piece.
yeah,
Everybody wanted a piece of him.
They found out they were hearing who it actually was. The cops were all like en route trying to get him. And it was a big thing that they said that they caught this guy.
So another catch that doesn't get pointed out, the sheriff's department was chasing him, but LAPD is actually who arrested him. So it's kind of like they fight, they banter back and forth, the jurisdiction type thing.
Okay.
So he was in a black and white as opposed to the sheriffs are usually green and white, something like that.
Okay.
So yeah, so all this hard work, and then guess who gets to collar him? The LAPD.
You're welcome, LAPD.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, at this point, he's now in police custody.
Well done.
Right. So I know once he was in police custody and they took him in like for questioning Frank Salerno, who were referenced earlier, who took down the Hillside Strangler. For Ramirez, the Hillside Strangler was like a hero to him. He looked up to him and all that. And he even kind of looked at Mr. Salerno. He called him Mr. Salerno out of respect because he's the one that took the Hillside Strangler. To capitalize on all that, like him looking up he put him in the cell he said, hey, this is the holding cell we put the Hillside Strangler in to make him feel like he's important and all that. And so that he would confess and talk more and all that stuff like that. So they had him in custody. And then when he ended up going to trial and all that, he actually pleaded not guilty. And he was, that's when all the antics started with the pentagrams.
That's because he probably got a lawyer who started telling him what to say and
To act crazy.
Right.
Like, look, man,
Basically,
you're nuts, right?
Yeah.
He's like,
Right.
just do this and look at the jury a lot. He's like, all right.
So from the time that he got captured and was imprisoned or whatever till the actual trial, it was like 3 years because there was so much like this podcast.
But there were also issues. Like when they detained him, they didn't read him his rights.
Oh, so there was stuff like that.
They were trying to rescue him and get him in the car. So everything he said at that point, when it was me, was not admissible in court.
Oh, okay. Because I know there was like issues with that.
Details.
Right. See, there it was like, what are you talking about? And it's like, then you start realizing, oh yeah,
Right.
because they rushed him in to save him, and he's running his mouth, but he wasn't Mirandized.
Yeah. So you figure 3 years until he spent. And here's the other crazy part. So why he was in prison and awaiting trial, they fixed his teeth.
Yep.
In prison.
Yep.
Well, to make him look
Taxpayer
better.
money.
Yeah, so he doesn't look like a murderer
Right.
up there when they got trial going.
Well, I wonder if that helped with something I had read. Did I read correctly that he married a fan of his?
Yes.
Yes. He had many fans.
He had many fans. He had a cult following.
If you watch the trial footage, there's girls that would show up on the daily, not just one. Like there's
Trying
numerous.
to get into the trial just to see him.
He was wearing shades, like playing on all that, and kind of looking around and wink, taking the shades down and winking at him, doing, playing up to all that.
Hair combed nicely, like nice suits on.
I have asked women if they found him attractive, and they say yes, he is attractive. And if you look it up, Wikipedia, like attractive serial killers, he's in the top 2 or 3.
Top 2.
Yeah, which is crazy.
I'm being
What a
seriously.
list.
Look it up. They'll tell you who he's charming, and he was charismatic.
Yeah.
I asked a girl at work. She's into all the serial killer stuff and all that. And I said, hey, what did you think of Richard Ramirez? She's like, oh, he's hot.
Yep.
It's too bad that he's the way he was. I'm like, well, even so, I mean, think about it. Like, I don't know.
But that's the looks, the physical look.
The
But
physical
here's the
attraction,
point
yeah.
with that. Remember we talked about him in his regular life?
Mm-hmm.
So if he got into some freaky stuff, he can get women. It wasn't about the sex.
Right.
But now they cleaned him up. He got nice teeth. He's off the drugs.
Well, nobody says he's off the drugs.
Well, true. He's in jail.
He got the jail version.
Yeah.
That's all.
He's making drinks in his toilet.
And yeah.
They can still get drugs in there, bro.
Yeah.
They still get the
I've heard
same
that.
stuff.
Yeah, so he went to, like I said, 3 years later, went to trial, got convicted, and I mean, there was all the stuff we didn't even talk about a lot, but the rapes of the children that he was abducting, not murdering, but picking them up, raping them, and dropping them back off, and all that. That was all like on top of all this. They didn't even decide to take that stuff to trial just because the one little girl, she was like 6 when it happened. She's an adult now. She was on the documentary, and the police, Carrillo, I guess, he was the one who went and they were talking to her like, hey, if we had to put this bad man away, would you blah, 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 come to trial? Thinking about it, they're like, we're not going to do this. Let's not put this girl on the stand. He's already gone away for a long time, this and that. And it kind of just hit him with all the murder. He ended up getting obviously life in prison.
Yeah, the low-hanging fruit. You're going to go after the easy pickings.
Right.
Yeah, try not to muddy the water. Because also they probably like just draw it out. You know what I mean? You're going for all these other crimes that I can possibly defend or slow down the prosecution. And he's getting more and more time in the court system and free from his cell.
Which we'll be getting into more of this in part 7 of our Night Stalker series.
Right.
The dude was wicked, man. He was a bad man.
As we delve deeper into the mind of Richard Ramirez.
That's
actions,
just
not the mind, the actions.
That's just it. I mean, the trial and all that. You could go on about that forever. Talk about all the antics and all that. But yeah, basically, long story short, which is not going to be
Too late.
yeah, too late.
4.5 hours later.
Like Zap asked, he did get married in prison. That was in 1996, I think.
Yes.
And she divorced him. I think it was like the year before he passed away, or the year he passed away, which was like 2013.
Did he get conjugal visits? Did anybody?
No, they were able to marry, but they weren't
To
able
meet
to
each
touch.
other, no touching. Okay.
Yes,
No touching.
yes.
What? Why? Curious. Does anyone know why they divorced?
She was getting a lot of rap at home, bad rap at home.
Oh.
She couldn't get a job. She couldn't do different things. You know what I mean? People were like ostracizing her. She would have held out. She could have had the rights to all of this.
Ooh,
Right.
You're right.
True.
He can't make money off his crimes, but she could have.
Right.
She just waited a year. She'd hit the jackpot.
What is she like home? Like her mom's like, what are you doing? I was like, Mom, I didn't sleep with him. Leave me alone.
Yeah.
I love him.
Unless the victim's estates ended up suing for any kind of royalties or anything
Like
that
the
happened,
Dahmer did
like
that.
what happened with Dahmer.
They can't
Yeah.
sue her.
No, they can sue his estate.
Whoever has the
But-
estate.
She would make money off of it because she's the wife, but not his estate. It wouldn't be his estate. It'd be
Because
her
it's his
property.
wife's.
It would be her property or her rights to the story.
I know with Dahmer, like with his dad, they were going after him because of when he wrote that book.
Yeah, because he
and
wrote the
all
book
that,
and they
you
wanted
know?
the money from it.
Right, but Dahmer wrote the book, correct?
No, this
His
is
dad wrote a
father's
book
dad.
about
Yeah.
Dahmer.
Right.
Right.
So they
So-
tried to sue the father.
His father wrote a book.
Yep.
All of the victims sued, or families sued the father to the extent of any money you make off of this book, we want a piece, we want all of it. And they ended up winning that. So as this then transfers and it might go to his wife, I've got to believe there's some kind of clause in there that, okay, well, it's not going to be him, then it's going to be his estate. Or they could just sue the estate then.
What year was Dahmer? 90s?
90s, yeah.
Okay, this is pre. Well, no, he did go early 90s.
Yeah,
Didn't he?
Dahmer was 94, I think he was arrested.
I'm saying
right?
Ramirez's
Ramirez's
death.
80s.
No, his
In 90.
death.
90?
No, it was deeper. He did several years.
I'm no attorney. I don't know how this works.
He needed a better attorney.
There you
I
go.
would have sliced and diced that.
Dahmer died in 94, but he went to prison like 91 or whatever,
Okay.
92 maybe. I don't know. But yeah, at any rate, she divorced him before he passed away, before he died.
And then
Which
she
he
deserved.
didn't
Yeah.
she change her name? I think she changed her
Yeah.
name too.
But he was up for the death penalty.
Oh wait,
and
wait,
wasn't
wait.
able to receive
She
it.
divorced him because she found out about other girls that were his fans or something that he was having like correspondence with. That was her original reason for
He was
divorcing
having
him.
jail affairs.
I thought she
Yep.
divorced him. She found out he stole a car back then.
And that he admit he no it was the other girls.
like,
and-
"You did
and-
what?"
And he admitted it. So at first she tried to say she didn't believe and it was all fake. There's no way he could do all this. But I believe he confessed or something to that nature, and he had other females that he was corresponding with, and then
Like messing with.
That's what she says. That's
Yeah.
what they had like an interview with her.
Oh, that's crazy.
Mac Daddy.
It just shows you anybody, I guess, there's somebody for everybody, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
the guy was terrible. I mean, that was a lot to cover. It was intense.
And it ended up, the lymphoma got him.
Mm-hmm.
Bumpy ride.
I mean, he didn't really serve all that much time. You
No,
think
he
about
didn't.
all the stuff
Yeah.
that he did. I mean,
For being in jail, he should have got the death sentence. It never
But he
happened.
did.
right.
In jail.
Yeah.
Death.
He did. He
did.
died.
Yeah, he died.
Yeah.
Without being able to hurt anybody else, hopefully.
Right.
Yep. Except all those ladies' hearts.
All those broken ladies' hearts and
Just
his
breaking
poor,
them.
and his poor divorced wife.
Right.
Mm.
But at any rate, I guess that's it. You guys got any closing thoughts?
Just his wife. If we could start up a GoFundMe
I don't think she needs it.
No.
Just to help the poor lady out. All that love she gave him.
Yeah.
Poor gal.
Don't do drugs.
Yeah.
That was a sick dude.
Yeah.
I think he was sick before the drugs. The drugs just amplified it.
Enhanced it. But
Yeah, he did it without he didn't need the help.
No.
He just did his thing and used them to just get himself more hype, I guess.
Right.
He was a coward.
Yep.
Well, Ron, we appreciate you hanging in the basement.
I appreciate the visit.
Yeah, you really helped us out with this, with the LA stuff, and
Yes,
give us an idea. Zap, as always, great job reading, researching, doing all that. Matt, bringing the comedy, a little funny stuff in there, and commentary, and appreciate all you guys. I think next week we're doing, like Zap said, we had a fan request. We can call her a fan, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah, so we're going to do Eileen Wuornos. Is it Eileen?
Eileen?
Could be.
Yeah, it's the monster movie with, what's her name?
Charlize
Theron.
Charlize Theron,
Right.
Florida Killer.
Florida Killer, yeah. So we're going to try to tackle that one next week. And don't forget to check us out on Vintage Cinema Review every Thursday. We got a good one coming up with Ron's, would have aired last week. And we're going to have another one coming up with Ron. So less than zero. Yeah, so don't forget to check that out. Find us on Facebook and Instagram at Old Dirty Basement, and on TikTok at Old Dirty Basement Podcast. Keep a lookout for our merchandise store coming. We'll have links for that in the podcast description and on Facebook and everything else. And I guess that's it for now. So we'll catch you where?
On the flip side.
If we don't see you sooner, we'll see you later.
Peace. Thanks for hanging out in the Old Dirty Basement. If you dig our theme music like we do, check out the Tsunami Experiment. Find them on Facebook. Their music is available streaming on Spotify and Apple, and where great music is available.
You can find us at Old Dirty Basement on Facebook and Instagram, and at Old Dirty Basement Podcast on TikTok.
Peace.
We Audi 5000.